Babar and Father Christmas.
It sounds like an elephant chain.
One day, Zephyr calls to his friends Arthur, Pom, Flora, and Alexander. Listen to this wonderful tale which I've just heard. It seems that in man's country, every year on the night before Christmas, a very kind old gentleman with a large white beard, wearing a red suit with a pointed hood, flies over the countryside. He carries with him great quantities of toys, and gives them to little children. They call him Father Christmas. It's difficult to catch a glimpse of him, for he comes down the chimney while one sleeps. The next morning, the children know he's been there because they find toys in their shoes. Why shouldn't we write to him and ask him to come here too and see us in Elephant's Country? 3 cheers! What a fine idea, says Alexander. But what shall we say in the letter, asks Arthur. We must write and tell Father Christmas that we would like him to, what we would like him to bring us, suggests Pom. Let's consider very carefully before we write, adds Flora. They remain quiet a moment to think it over. Zephyr decides that a bicycle would be just what he wants. Flora would love to have a doll. Alexander wants a butterfly net. Pom a big bag of candies, and a little teddy bear. As for Arthur, his dream is to have a train. Then, each having decided what to wish for, Zephyr is chosen to write the letter, for he has the best handwriting. He applies himself to the task. Arthur remembers that a stamp must be put on the envelope. Then they each sign their names and go off together in great glee to mail the letter. Every morning the 5 friends eagerly await the postman. They rush out to meet him as soon as they see him coming. But alas, although the postman searches carefully, there is no answer from Father Christmas. One day Babar happens to see them and says to himself, "Whatever can be the matter with those children? They look dreadfully sad." So he calls to them and says, "Come on, tell me what's the matter." Zephyr tells him the story of his letter. "And you haven't had an answer? Is that it?" asks Babar. "You must have forgotten to put a stamp on it." "Oh, no, we didn't. Arthur remembered, too." "Well, then Father Christmas hasn't had time to answer it yet. Cheer up and run along now and play. Possibly you've given me a very excellent idea." Babar pulls out his pipe and smokes. He paces thoughtfully up and down, lost in thought. "I wonder why I never thought myself of asking Father Christmas to come to the Elephant's Country. The best thing to do would be to start out at once to find him. If I ask him personally, he will surely not refuse to come." He made his mind up. Babar hurries to inform Celeste of his intentions. She helps him to pack and get ready. She would very much like to go along, but Babar explains that she'll be needed at home to rule the country during his absence, and also remarks that queer characters like Father Christmas are often shy and rarely allow themselves to be approached by more than one person at a time. Babar arrives in Europe after a very good journey. He has just stepped off from the train. In order to not be recognized, he's left his crown at home. He drives to a little old hotel which is clean and quiet and is given a room which pleases him. Next he undresses and washes up a bit. One always feels so refreshed after a good cleaning up. What can be making that funny little noise, wonders Babar as he dries himself off. Without moving, he looks down. All of a sudden he sees 3 young mice. The least timid of them says, "Good day, my stout sir. Are we to have the pleasure of your company for long?" "Oh no, I'm just passing through. I'm looking for Father Christmas," answers Babar. "You're looking for Father Christmas? Why, goodness, he's here in this very house. We know him well. We'll show you to his room," chorused the 3 little mice. "How wonderful! What extraordinary luck! Just give me time to put on my dressing gown and I'll be right with you," cries the excited Babar. "But where on earth are these little mice taking me?" wonders Babar, as he stops a moment on each stair to catch his breath. Father Christmas must live way up on the top floor. No doubt he likes to have a good view and plenty of open space around him. While Babar is making these observations, the 3 little mice reach the attic. Whatever they are doing over there in the corner, they all seem excited. "Where are you?" calls Babar. "Up here in the attic," answers the little mice. "Come quickly. We've taken Father Christmas down from the top of the tree." When Babar joins them, the delighted little mice say, "There's Father Christmas. He lives here peacefully the whole year round except on Christmas Day, when they come and fetch him and hang him on top of the new Christmas tree. After the holiday he resumes his place in the corner, and we come and play with him again. But this isn't the one I'm looking for. I want to find a real live Father Christmas, not a doll," says Babar sadly. The next morning, Babar hears a tapping at his window and sees some sparrows outside on the sill. They speak to him and say, "We understand that you're searching for the real live Father Christmas. We know him well and are going to take you to him," and off they fly joyously. Pointing out the way to Babar, they lead him across a big bridge over the river. "We're almost there," they call. "We usually find him around here. He sleeps under the bridges." Well, that is strange," thinks Babar. There he is," cry all the little sparrows together. "He's over there next to that fisherman casting his line." Babar, still a bit astonished at this odd fellow's appearance, greets him and says, "Excuse me, sir, but are you really the true Father Christmas, the one who brings toys to all the children?" "Alas, no," answers the old man. "My name is Lazzaro Campiotti. I am an artist's model, and my friends the artists have nicknamed me Father Christmas. Now everybody calls me by that name." Very much disappointed, Babar strolls thoughtfully along the river banks. Stopping at one of the bookstalls, Babar finds a book with a picture of Father Christmas. He quickly buys it and takes it back to his room to examine it more carefully. Unfortunately, the text is written in a language he does not understand. He goes down to explain his difficulty to the hotel manager, who helpfully gives him the address of a professor at the school where his son is studying. "Mr. Gillinez will surely be able to translate your book," he says. Without losing a moment, Babar is at the door of the Professor Gillinez's house ringing the bell. He finds him at home, but after a glance at the book, the professor says that to his great regret he is unable to read it either. He gives Babar the address of the famous Professor William Jones. An hour later, Babar is in the man's study. The professor carefully examines the book and shakes his head gloomily. Finally, he turns to Babar, who has been waiting patiently, and says, "Your book is very difficult to read. It is written in old-style Gothic letters. There are facts in it about the life of Father Christmas. They say he lives in Bohemia, not far from the little town of Priminsue, but I do not find any more definite information on this point." Babar goes off and sits on a bench in a public park to think the matter over. The birds recognize him and come over to inquire whether he has found Father Christmas. "No, not yet," answers Babar. "I only know he lives far away from here in a town of Priminsue. Truly, this is a difficult search." Just then a little dog who is passing by Babar says, "Pardon me, sir, I'm very good at finding things which are lost, because I have a highly developed sense of smell. If only I could have a sniff of that doll which Father Christmas gave to little Virginia over there, I'm sure I'd be able to help you find him. I'd be very glad to go with you because I'm a little homeless dog." Upon hearing these words, Babar looks at the dog and says, "Agreed, I'll take you along with me." Then he goes off to buy a beautiful new doll for Virginia, which she gladly accepts in exchange for the other one. Babar lets the dog sniff the old doll and feeds him a piece of candy. Before starting out, Babar goes back to see the learned Professor William Jones, who returns his book and gives him a few additional directions. Father Christmas apparently lives in a forest on a mountain about 12 miles from Priminsue. Babar arrives at the little town after a difficult journey. It was very cold, and a great deal of snow has fallen. Babar therefore equips himself accordingly. He buys some skis, hires a sleigh, and has himself driven to the foot of the mountain. Pretty soon he has to get out, and accompanied only by his faithful Duck, this is the name he has given to his dog, he starts to climb in the direction of the mysterious forest, skis on his feet, and a heavily laden pack on his back. Duck is very much excited. He sniffs here and there and yaps softly. Now he stands still, his tail lifted, his nose twitching hard. He must have caught the scent of Father Christmas. Suddenly, Duck is off on the run. I've got it! We're on the right track!" His loud barking echoes through the woods. But what is that stirring in the wild forest? It's a little band of mountain dwarfs who have hidden themselves behind tree trunks. Duck would like to see them nearby, but they rush at him, pelting him fast and furiously with hard-packed snowballs which land on his head and in his eyes and on his sides. Half choked, half blinded, his tail between his legs, Duck decides to retreat. He quickly runs to rejoin his master and arrives breathless, feeling very foolish. When Babar sees him, he stops short and asks, "What happened?" Duck then tells him of his adventure with the little bearded dwarfs. "Good, we must be getting nearer," replies Babar. "I'm very eager to meet those dwarfs. Lead me to them." A few minutes later, it's Babar's turn to meet the dwarfs. They try to frighten him too, and rush bravely toward him and pelt him, but Babar calmly takes a deep breath and blows it out hard in their direction. They all tumble down on top of one another, and as soon as they can scramble back to their feet, off they run in noiselessly disappear. Babar roars with laughter and continues on his way, following Duck, who has now found the scent again. The little dwarfs have run to find Father Christmas, and they tell him, all jabbering at once, that an enormous animal with a long nose blew on them so hard he knocked them down and chased them away. Father Christmas listens attentively. The little dwarfs added that when they fled, this big monster was quite near, and that guided by an ugly little cur, he was heading straight for the secret cave of Father Christmas. They were right. Babar was nearing the cave, but the storm of extraordinary violence suddenly bursts upon him. The wind blows so hard the snowflakes prick his eyes and skin. It is impossible to see. Babar struggles desperately. Then, realizing the danger of obstinately forging ahead blindly, he decides to dig himself a hole for shelter. Then he rigs up a roof with his skis and ski poles and some snow blocks. The two companions are fairly well protected now. "Whew! It is cold, and my trunk is beginning to freeze," thinks Babar. Duck is also cold and tired. All of a sudden, Babar feels the earth giving away under him, and he and Duck drop out of sight. Where have they fallen? Without realizing it, they have dropped right down through a chimney vent in the cave of Father Christmas. "Father Christmas!" cries the amazed Babar. "Duck, we've arrived at our destination." Whereupon he faints, worn out with fatigue and cold and the excitement. "Quick, little mountain dwarfs, forget your quarrel. We must undress him and get him warm," says Father Christmas. They all set to immediately. They undress him and give him a good alcohol rub, working him over energetically with big brushes. Then the dwarf chemist gives him some brandy. Then finally, Babar drinks a fine bowl of hot soup with Father Christmas and thanks him from the bottom of his heart. While Father Christmas is shown around, Babar explains that he has made this long journey to ask him to visit the elephant's country. Won't he distribute the toys to the elephant children just as he does to the children of men? Father Christmas is much touched by this request. But he tells Babar he will not be able to visit the elephant's country Christmas night because he is very tired. He adds, "I had a great difficulty last year in completing the usual delivery and the distribution of toys to the children all over the world." "Oh, but Father Christmas, I understand you perfectly," says Babar, "but if this is the case, you must take care of yourself. Why not live on the earth's surface for a while and leave your underground home? Come back with me to our country now and bask in the sun. You'll be rested and cured for Christmas." Charmed by the suggestion, Father Christmas instructs the little dwarfs to keep an eye on everything for him. Then off he goes in his flying machine, FC number 1, accompanied by Babar and Duck. Here they are in the elephant's country. Father Christmas admires the countryside and is quickly surrounded by the elephants who rush over to bid him welcome. Palm, Flora, and Alexander hurry over too. In order to get the best view, Arthur has climbed onto the roof of a house and Zephyr is up a tree. When the excitement quiets down, Queen Celeste introduces her 3 children and Arthur and Zephyr to Father Christmas. "Oh, you are the ones who wrote to me," he says. "I'm delighted to meet you, and I promise you a Merry Christmas." Father Christmas often goes out riding on zebraback. Babar rides along on his bicycle. After Father Christmas takes a sunbath for 2 full hours every day, following Dr. Capelesi's instructions. Sometimes Palm, Flora, and Alexander come to watch him as he lies in his hammock, but they're careful to make no noise so as not to disturb him. One day Father Christmas says to Babar, "My dear friend, thank you very much for all that you've done for me. Christmas is nearly here, and I must leave to distribute the awaited gifts to the children of men. But I'm not forgetting the promise I made to the little elephants. Can you guess what I have in this bag? a real Santa Claus suit made to your measure. It's a magic suit which will enable you to fly through the air, and your bag will always be full of toys. Here on Christmas Eve. I promise you I'll return when my work is done, and I'll bring the children a fine Christmas tree." On the night before Christmas, Babar follows out these instructions. As soon as he puts on the suit and the beard, he notices that he instantly becomes lighter, and at the same time he's able to fly with ease. This is really extraordinary, and what a good way to distribute gifts to all the children, thinks Babar. He hurries in order to get through with the task before dawn. What joy there will be in every house on Christmas morning when the little elephants awake. In the royal palace, Queen Celeste peeks through the door of the children's room. Tom is emptying his stocking, Flora is rocking her doll, and Alexander is jumping up and down in his bed, exclaiming, "What a wonderful Christmas! What a wonderful Christmas!" As he promised, Father Christmas had come back, bringing them a beautiful Christmas tree, and thanks to him the family celebration is a great success. Arthur, Zephyr, Pom, Flora, and Alexander have never seen anything as beautiful as this fir tree, all shining with lights. The next day, Father Christmas flies away again in his airplane to rejoin his little subjects, the dwarfs, in his underground palace. On the banks of the big lake, Babar, Celeste, Arthur, Zephyr, and the three children sadly wave their handkerchiefs. Fortunately, Father Christmas has promised to come back to the elephant country every year. The end.